Hello there. This'll have the lefties sweating. The first EU election exit polls are out, and they show a massive swing to the right. While the UK prepares to anoint a new left-wing government in the form of Keir Starmer's Labour Party, a Labour Party that still holds many far-left communists within its ranks, we see across the English Channel EU voters preparing to elect a new raft of right-wing politicians into power. The Netherlands went to the EU Parliament polls yesterday, and Geert Wilders came away smiling from ear to ear as the exit poll showed his party had gone from 0 seats in 2019 to a potential 7 seats out of the 31 available here in 2024. That is a massive swing to the right. And that put his PVV party just behind the Labour-Green coalition, which is expected to lead the result by getting 8 of those 31 seats. Just 1 seat in it. But these are exit polls, remember, and the actual results will be declared after the EU-wide elections end on Sunday the 9th of June. Talking to journalists, Wilders said, "We are by far the largest winner this evening. It is a beautiful result." Now, the left-wing Labour-Green coalition says that the Netherlands exit poll shows it is not a given that what they call the far right will win these EU elections. Well, let's wait for the actual results, shall we? Some people can be reticent about saying they intend to vote for or did vote for candidates like Wilders during periods of political change. Think Brexit on that one. In the meantime, the lefties can sweat and worry. But as Politico says, but despite the left's cheers after a nerve-wracking day, the exit poll results are a confirmation of a predicted far-right surge, which could impact areas such as asylum and migration, as well as climate policy. About time we saw some serious pushback against this leftist dogma, isn't it? And Politico also says, although not final, the Dutch result is seen as a barometer of what might await the bloc next. The far right is expected to notch up big wins in France and Italy, and could well come second in Germany. Now, the exit poll has an error margin of about 1 seat. And given that an earlier Reuters report, issued a few hours before the Politico report, said that early indications were of Wilders and his Labour-Green coalition opponents were both on track for 8 seats each, then who knows? Opinion polls suggest the Dutch Anti-Immigration Freedom Party, PVV, of Geert Wilders, which won last year's national election, will make gains and win 8 seats in the European Parliament, tying with the Labour-Green-Left combination, said Reuters. Now, due to recent events in Germany, where a police officer sadly died after being assaulted by a knife-wielding migrant who is reportedly a failed asylum seeker, the German government has, at the last moment before these elections, been bounced into announcing a deportation of extremists plan. This is the incident where a right-wing activist had been targeted and managed to defend himself. But the police officer intervened by trying to arrest the victim, and then became a victim himself. With Breitbart reporting, Germany has been looking into being able to deport unwanted migrants back to Afghanistan for months. But last week's terror attack seems to have brought the matter crashing to a head, with Chancellor Olaf Scholz now promising to deport migrants guilty of serious crimes and those immigrants that may celebrate or glorify terrorist attacks. Now, I will just point out that Sir Mark Rowley, the Met Police boss, called the peaceful and law-abiding rally organised by Tommy Robinson on the 1st of June as an extreme right affair.
Brox, which is the ongoing operations dealing with the sort of Israel-Palestine related protests, as well as Just Stop Oil, Youth Demand. This weekend we also had a sort of extreme right protest. The cost of that last year was about £70 million, and Home Office have been getting tighter on special grants and have given us about 20 million of that. So that's a net hit to frontline policing, and within.
Personally, as one of the attendees, I'd have called it a boisterous, patriotic affair. And one man there did recognise and approach me at the Victoria Station starting point for the rally, to tell me that he was a Muslim and was here in this country because of the rise of radical Islamism in his own country. I came here to flee from that, he told me. But he's now worried about the rise of it here in the UK, and that was why he was attending the pro-UK rally. But of course, in the minds of the left-wing captured institutions, displays of patriotism are always far right and to be deplored and discouraged, even if a few heads have to be knocked to get their insidious message through. You know, kid gloves for the pro-Hamas lot and riot gear for St George's Day. The trouble is that many more people are realising that things need to change, that our borders are not tight enough, and that some newcomers are failing to integrate into our society, so causing conflict. But the open border socialists still maintain their far-right narrative of this fast-growing, probably now the overwhelmingly large silent majority section of our society. And the more these normal people holding what they view as normal opinions find out that everyone else feels the same as them, but still gets told they are far-right, the more the normal people will consider the so-called far-right opinions as normal. I.e., the lefty insults lose any social impact they had, exposing those that spout them as limp, wet, woke no-hopers. But what concerns me is that the bosses of the captured institutions, such as the police, are obviously briefing their staff about this far-right phenomena, and that it must be dealt with harshly, and that the far right must be briefed against at every single opportunity. So officers sent out to police certain events might be watching the wrong people, mightn't they? And could possibly misidentify which is victim and which is perpetrator, couldn't they? Now, I'm not saying that's what happened in Germany. I don't know how that officer was briefed. I'm just asking the question and wondering if the same could potentially happen in London. Thank goodness for citizen journalism and social media. Otherwise, I fear quite a lot of people holding normal views could be languishing in prison right now. Anyway, the German government has been forced to react to actual events and not just trot out the usual unicorn thinking. Their Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, knows he needs to be seen to be cracking down on this stuff or he'll lose votes. But will it sway the German voters to keep voting the same old way? Somehow, I doubt it. I think Germany will start the process of ditching what is in effect the socialist thinking of the European Union for a more right-of-centre approach. Now, I do find it interesting that in the EU they are starting to reject their left-wing politicians and started replacing them with those from the right. But in the UK, what we're actually doing is ditching the Tories for not being right-wing enough. In essence, we are rejecting the left-wing con-socialists. But by dint of our uniparty system, we're automatically defaulting to the potentially hard-left Labour Party. It just doesn't make any sense, does it?